All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. This is the March 10th Public Council meeting for the City of Mount Pearl. Good to see everybody here, and we are going to be missing a couple of people today. Both of our lady councillors are gone, right? Councillor Tessier is not here with us today. Councillor Stoyle's not here with us, so some of you people are going to be doing double duty, I'm anticipating, for this afternoon. All right, well, the very first thing on the agenda would actually be the adoption of the agenda as presented. I will entertain a motion. Moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke, that the agenda be accepted as presented. There are a couple of additions here. One, Kenmount Hill amendment, that's coming out under planning, I'm assuming. We have a proclamation. Any other additions to the agenda from anybody that won't be referenced either under old business or new business? None. Call it. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried. Next item would be the minutes of the last meeting of council, the minutes of the last meeting. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Moved by Councillor Wall, seconded by Councillor Aker. Are there any errors or omissions? Errors or omissions from the meeting of March 10th? Not March 10th, the meeting of, when was it? February 24th. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried. Looking for business arising from the minutes. I'm doing this from memory, by the way. That screen is not working just yet. Hang on. It's coming now. It's starting to fire up for me now. We are going to open this in Goodreader, as they call it, right? Technology. You got to love it when it works. Business arising, and I would ask from the February 24th meeting, I'd ask that you refer to an agenda item by number. If you have one, any business arising. Hearing none. What a good bunch of boys we are. We are going to move on then on the agenda. Members of council, we have one proclamation that we are going to sign today, and I want to recognize here in the audience we have Mr. John Ozon. Am I pronouncing it right, John? And John is president of the Canadian Institute of Plumbing and Heating. So we're going to get John to come up here with me, John, if you would, and I'm going to read this proclamation into the record and sign it, and then I'm going to get you to take this microphone and take a moment to talk to council and tell us a little bit about your plans. This is a proclamation relating to World Plumbing Day, council, and it reads as follows. Whereas access to clean drinking water is a basic right that is still not available to many people throughout the world. According to the World Health Organization, each year, 3 million children under the age of 5 die from water-related diseases due to a lack of plumbing infrastructure. Simple plumbing solutions that prevent diseases from entering the water supply would save lives. And whereas working in partnership with the World Plumbing Council, the United Nations has declared 2005 to 2015 as the International Decade for Action, Water for Life, to bring safe drinking water to 97 million people by 2015. And whereas the Mechanical Contractors Association of Canada, the Canadian Institute of Plumbing and Heating, and the World Plumbing Council, along with related organizations around the world, will join together on March 11th to raise awareness of the need for proper plumbing systems while highlighting the importance of plumbing in helping the environment through water conservation and the installation and maintenance of energy-efficient plumbing. Therefore, I, Mayor Randy Sims, on behalf of Mount Pearl City Council, do hereby proclaim March 11th as World Plumbing Day here in the city of Mount Pearl. And to that, I shall affix a signature. And John, if you would, I'm going to invite you to tell us a little bit about plans for World Plumbing Day 2015, the last year of the decade. And we're going to get you to come here in the middle, right up here by me. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I do best. But thank you. Thank you, your most worshipful. Mr. Sims.
I got it to work.
And council, yes. Thank you. Just a few notes here. CIPH, Canadian Institute of Plumbing and Heating, and the Mechanical Contractors Association of Newfoundland, thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. With an increased focus on climate change, the industry around the world is a major player, the plumbing industry around the world is a major player in relation to water conservation, its use, reuses, and the installation and maintenance of equipment using renewable sources of energy. The work of the plumbing industry in Newfoundland and Labrador contributes directly to the health and safety of its residents. CIPH and MCA, and along with the World Plumbing Council and related organizations around the world, joined together on March 11, 2015 to raise awareness of the importance of proper plumbing installation in relation to protecting the planet and its citizens. CIPH is a not-for-profit organization founded in Montreal in 1933. CIPH members are located right across Canada and employ more than 20,000 Canadians. CIPH is a Canadian association representing the interest of companies that manufacture, sell, distribute plumbing, hydronic heating, which is hot water heating, PVF, pipe valves and fittings, and the water products and the services. CIPH wholesalers operate more than 700 warehouses and showrooms across Canada. The Mechanical Contractors Association of Canada, established in 1895, is a vibrant and diverse national trade association serving the needs of mechanical contractors of all sizes engaged in such disciplines as plumbing, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, control systems, medical gases, welding, and fire suppression, primarily within the industrial, commercial, and institutional sectors. Nearly 1,000 members and companies across 24 regional and provincial MCA offices. The role of the National Association is to encourage, support, and promote the advancement of mechanical contracting industry. The World Health Organization estimates, as we said, over 3 million people under the age of 5, which is absolutely amazing, die every year due to water-related diseases. Simple plumbing solutions can make all the difference in saving lives. In many developing countries, plumbing is either very limited or non-existent, and the lack of effective plumbing infrastructure is a huge factor in the tragic statistics which show that an unacceptably high portion of the world's population, 1 billion approximately, does not have access to safe water or effective sanitation systems. On behalf of CIPH and MCA, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak here today. Thank you.
Thank you, John, very, very much. We appreciate that. I'm going to give this to you, sir. We're going to go out right there and have a snap taken. Thank you, John, very much. We appreciate that.
Thanks, John.
Sir.
Your Worship, could I speak to that?
Deputy Mayor Locke.
Well, it's World Plumbing Day, and we've highlighted the need, internationally. We should also keep in mind that, many of the communities around our province are also, suffering in terms of adequate fresh drinking water and stuff like this.
250 advisory orders on water in the province today.
Right. So while it's nice to look internationally and globally, we must also keep in mind as well that we do have a lot of communities in our province, and Mount Pearl is one of the fortunate ones. We have our water tested every day. We have fantastic drinking water. I can speak to that whenever we leave the province on a camping trip. Councillor Walsh raised a glass, and people make fun of me all the time, but when we used to camp years ago and go to the Maritimes, I always had to carry 15 gallons of drinking water with me in my camper because my wife will only drink Mount Pearl water. So we take it for granted. Day to day, you can turn the tap on, but as Mr. Ozon said, you got a billion people that don't have that privilege. So I'm delighted that you came in today, and I wish you well on March 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It is interesting to note that we are talking. I was this weekend in Burnaby with the FCM in BC, and one of the things we talked about there was the wastewater reality in Canada and how wastewater has to be treated. And we've estimated that in 2014 dollars, present day value of money, it's an 18 to 22 billion dollar problem in Canada. It's better than a $500 million problem just in Newfoundland and Labrador in today's dollars. So when you think about how far we've come, though, we're talking about secondary processing of water before we return it into the environment. At the same time, We're discussing 1 billion people that have real challenges with wastewater. How to this, and too often that wastewater is ending up in their drinking water supplies. It's what's causing these diseases and these deaths and these problems. So it's a real challenge, and I think the organization, John, is to be complimented for the work that they're doing in trying to continue to bring public awareness to these needs around the world, and Deputy Mayor, to your point, right here in our own community. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. Anyone else with a comment? Okay, if not, we are going to move on. I do have a piece of correspondence to table with Council today. This is from the Minister of Municipal and Provincial Minister and Intergovernmental Affairs. MIGA is the name of the department these days. MIGA. It's now Intergovernmental Affairs. There's no provincial anymore. It's Municipal and Intergovernmental Affairs. Minister Keith Hutchings replied to the letter that we wrote, and this was in reference to the height definition of building height in our city, particularly as it relates to secondary buildings, accessory buildings in people's yards and whatnot, and how we determine an allowable height and so on. The minister has said in this letter that based on the conversation he's had with us as a city, he's now prepared to consider changing that definition. However, he says in order to determine what a revised definition might entail, consultation with municipalities and other organizations and stakeholders will be necessary. The department will undertake that consultation over the next month, and if the consultation confirms the city's concerns with the definition will be revised to bring clarity to its interpretation. I view that as a very positive response from the minister, which I thank him for. And I'm going to suggest to Council, with your permission, I'm going to make direct contact with the minister and offer our services as a community to facilitate some of that public consultation or community consultation that he requires on the definition piece. If he wants, what I'm offering him is that if you want, we will actually bring some of our towns and colleagues together to hold the consultation that he can bring his officials to talk about this matter. I don't think it's going to require a huge amount, a couple of meetings across the province, but if he would like, I'm going to offer that one of them be here. Seeing I think we're the driving force behind this happening. If Council is content with that, I will do that, post haste. Okay, thank you very much. Any other comment on the letter? Other than we thank the minister for it. That being the case, we're going to move to our first committee report, Community Services. Deputy Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
And in light of Councillor Stoyles being absent, I do believe that it is Councillor Aker.
Aker, yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the number of items here, Your Worship, are for information purposes. The first.
Well, maybe you haven't got to make a motion there, Dave.
Yeah, I think we have one motion, Councillor Aker, so you can help us out. Yep, at the end of it here. The first, Your Worship, has to do with the student summer day camp employment opportunities with the Community Services Department here at the city. Just let the public know that the applications for day camp counselors and the application for day camp coordinators, they're available on the city's website. They can also be picked up at City Hall and at the Summit Centre. And just to note that the closing date for the application is April the 10th. So any high school students or post-secondary students that are looking for a great summer job, I know we have, many, it's probably 50 or 60, 50 odd that we hire every year. And the students that I speak to that work, they love to work with the city and they love the opportunity. So April 10th is the deadline, and the applications can be found on our website at City Hall or at the Summit.
Okay, I was going to ask, you can go in on the website, right, and fill out an application and submit it?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
The next item, Your Worship, has to do with the Swim for Hope Relay. This is the 19th annual Swim for Hope in support of the Dr. H. Bliss Murphy Center Care Foundation. And this year it's going to be held on Friday, March the 27th at our newly minted Summit Center swimming pool. The Swim for Hope is a 12-hour relay, and residents can support the team and the foundation directly with the club or online, and they can go to www.swimforhope.ca. So that's a great initiative. Another great event going to be held at our Summit Center.
We have to put on airs about it, though, with the new Summit. It's got to be the Summit Center Aquatics Facility.
The Summit Center Aquatics
Facility. Just to
Facility.
put on a bit of air about it.
There you go. Yeah, why not?
Let your nose stick up in the air.
Yes.
Right? This is wonderful. We've been part of this ever since I think its inception, the Swim for Hope.
Yep.
This year is going to be unique because it is in a brand new facility.
Right.
That's going to put some pressure on the place, too. I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of people participate this year.
But
That's great.
I think we can handle it based on what we saw this past
A lot of
weekend.
donors. They're going to get a lot of new donors.
They are, yeah.
Wonderful.
Hopefully. So that's that. The next item, Your Worship, going back to the Summit Centre, just to highlight that we're delighted that the memberships, at the Summit Centre, in the whole host of programming and public swims and Aqua Zumba, at the weight centre, the workout centre, there's been a significant increase, a tremendous increase actually, from January to February. So we are delighted with the growth there. And of course, as you said, hopefully on March the 27th, we'll have a lot of activity up there. This past weekend we had a swim meet, and we were up to the challenge once again. It was a great event. So, and also while we're speaking of the Summit Centre, just to mention that the Fireside Cafe is now open at the Summit Centre, the retail outlet there on the second floor. I was very busy this past weekend. They have a great choice of food there, wraps and very healthy choices. And they
were busy?
They were quite busy the weekend. So
Good.
The Fireside Cafe is a great job done with the facility. It's very clean and
Jeff's
tidy,
going to make a
very
lot of money,
modern.
that's what you're saying.
So it's great. So just let the folks know that
Wonderful.
if they're at the Summit Centre, they want to get a snack, they can go to the second floor. Or if they want to have a nice meal and they're not at the Summit Centre, this can be a destination for them to get a nice lunch.
And it's
as
all
well.
healthy.
It's all healthy.
No fries on the second floor.
I didn't see any deep fries here, Your Worship. I'm sorry.
Maybe that's not such a great thing.
Anyways, it's still good food, Your Worship.
Wonderful.
This being Nutrition Month and all, so we want to promote healthy eating here in the city.
Isn't that April? No, that's this month, yeah.
That is this month, yeah.
That's right.
Yep, March. The next item, Your Worship, is the information for the Mount Pearl Citizen of the Year for 2014. Just a reminder to the public that the deadline for submitting nominations for our Citizen of the Year is March the 13th. And for more information and to locate the nomination form, once again, they can visit the city's website at www.mountpearl.ca. And again, just to encourage residents, I mean, there's literally hundreds of people that are eligible and deserving of a nomination here. And just to encourage people to take the time, get online and have a look at the documents. It's not that long a process to nominate someone. And like we said, Mount Pearl is known for our volunteers and our community spirit. So let's take the time to fill out a nomination form. So March the 13th is the deadline, Your Worship.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Pushing on now, speaking of another recognition program that we have in the city of Mount Pearl, this has to do with the Focus on Youth Awards. The deadline for nominations has been extended for the 2014 Focus on Youth Awards. So youth group leaders, teachers, coaches, residents, anybody in the community, again, we're encouraged to take the time to pay tribute to the city's youth each year. Again, we have hundreds of young people in the city of Mount Pearl that do so much work for our city. This is an opportunity for us. I know of no other community in the province that puts the time and energy and attention into highlighting and focusing our youth. We have a youth week, and it's always a great event here. So again, the deadline has been extended to March the 20th, and the Focus on Youth Awards banquet is going to take place on May the 13th. And just for information, Your Worship, there's a whole host of categories. There's Youth of the Year from male and female. There's Youth Athlete of the Year, Official of the Year, Youth in Service Award, Youth Volunteer of the Year, Youth Sports Team of the Year, Youth Group of the Year, Youth Performing Arts, both individually as well as group, Visual Arts, Literary Arts,
Good Lord.
a STEM Award. This is new, the new Youth STEM Award, which STEM is Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math.
Had that last year, right? First time was last year, wasn't it?
I think this is the first time this year. Yep, this is
one
brand new for this year.
We
Yep.
had a new one last year, too, then.
And I don't know what was last year
I
new.
thought it was that one, but maybe it's not.
Maybe it's
Okay.
this one, yep. And also, Your Worship, while we do focus on the youth, we also acknowledge the adult volunteers that work with our youth through coaches, mentoring, management, teachers, and so on and so forth. So there's an adult volunteer working with youth, as well as adult volunteer working with youth in sport. So there's a whole list there. And again, the nomination forms, they're not onerous. They don't take a lot of time to fill out. But we need people to take the time to make this a success. So again, we encourage residents of Mount Pearl to nominate one of the many deserving youths in our city. And the last item for me, Your Worship, and I'm going to call on Councillor Aker here right now. This has to do with the Mount Pearl Seniors Independence Group and the 50-plus age community 2015 fitness program. Our committee is recommending approval to release the annual subsidy in the amount of $5,000 to the seniors group and the 50-plus age community to cover the fitness program for 2015, and this is a part of their agreement with the city, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded. Call the question. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. We're going to go to Corporate Services. Councillor Aker, turning the floor over to you. Who's going to do alternate for you today?
I think today that is...
Because both of the lady council going to be the Deputy Mayor?
So be it.
Okay,
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
so it shall be.
Yes.
All right,
and
go ahead,
we do
sir.
have three motions for coming out of our most recent Corporate Services Committee. The first item, tax deferrals for low-income earners. This is in accordance with our policy. If you're making a low income, we go through a process of assessing that, and you can defer your taxes, which will be basically possibly reclaimed down the road when your property is sold. And you see two items listed there, and I so move.
Seconded. Move, seconded. Question, comments? All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Thank you. The next item is request for tax consideration. The committee is recommending approval for 2015 property taxes as well as 2015 business taxes in accordance with the council's policy for charitable organizations. You see 20 organizations listed there. Basically, as far as I can tell, this is in accordance with policy, and many of these businesses or nonprofit groups have received this in the past, and I would like to move that, all 20 of them, please.
Well, it moved and seconded. These are business tax forgiveness for registered nonprofits that operate out of our city.
Yes.
And there are some big ones. Have you noticed?
There are.
Right.
Yep.
There are some big ones there that operate out of our city.
And because
it's
they're
wonderful we
regular,
can
Your
do this.
Worship, our budget is taking that into
Oh,
account
absolutely.
from a revenue
It's
point of
wonderful.
view, right? Yeah, yeah.
We'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Invoices for approval is the next item. We have 13 invoices totaling $517,000. Just wanted to make note that Avalon Coal and Salt, we've bought an awful lot of salt for this winter's road maintenance. Councillor Walsh will be dealing with that in a few minutes. That is the amount of $282,000, which works out to be, I think, about anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 tons, give or take. And also, there's a progress claim there related to some street upgrading that was done last fall for $108,000. Otherwise, it's pretty well drips and drabs of building maintenance, damage claims, and some garbage schedule printing, which would have gone out basically, I guess, during the new year. So, I so move those items.
It is moved and seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Questions on any of the invoices 1 through 13? Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aker. Infrastructure, Public Works, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Your Worship. We've got a number of items that we'd like to bring forward for approval today. The first, for the last several years, we've been using Russell's Landscape to look after some of the planters at our intersections and some of the hanging planters, and they've done an incredibly good job for us. Their contract expires on the 31st of May this year, and we have an option to extend for up to 2 years. We're going to exercise, or we're recommending at least, that we exercise the option to extend for at least 1 year. The cost to the city has been $100 an hour, and that includes 2 people, as well as the provision of a truck. They use their own watering truck, and they do, as I said, they do an incredibly good job for us. And I think the last couple of years in particular, people have really noted and taken the time to note how beautiful some of these plants are, particularly at the intersection. So we're going to ask for the approval of council to extend this contract. Last year, or the average cost for 2014 at least, it was $110,718.50, including HST. So that's about what the total cost is at the rate of $100 per hour. So we're going to ask for an extension on that for 1 year, and I so move.
Seconded. It is moved and seconded. We're only doing the extension for 1 year, even though we have contained in the contract the right to go for 2.
And we could,
Which means, can we extend again?
Yes, we could, or we could actually take advantage of the option next year. The same thing.
That's what I mean. We could actually do this again if we
Yep.
wanted to.
Yep.
Yeah, or go to market.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And
How
that's
long
why-
was the contract? The original contract, Councillor? Do you know?
Sorry,
How long was the original contract?
I think it was 3 years.
It was 3 years.
Yeah, it was 3
Okay.
years.
Questions or comments from anyone? Hearing none, we'll call it. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The next item deals with the development or the proposed development of an extension of what was formerly the Glendale Gardens property, which most of us remember as a florist location. They had a lot of plants, flowers, and shrubs, etc., that they sold from that location. There is a proposal for development of that, but before we get into any kind of finalization of a development application for that property, we wanted to make sure that we have plenty of capacity in terms of water, stormwater, sewer capacity, all of those kinds of things. So we have engaged S&C Lavalin Bay New Plan with a cost of $19,500 with an optional cost of $2,500 per meter per month for additional meters as detailed in the submitted fee proposal. That excludes HST. And again, the idea is just to determine the capacity in that development location to ensure that we don't want to go ahead, obviously, and approve a development and then only to find out later that there are issues with capacity. We don't suspect that there will be, because I can't imagine, particularly from a water perspective, using more water than would be required, for example, for landscape or for a nursery. But we're going to go through the exercise and do the due diligence anyway, and I propose that we accept the proposed contract bid, and I so move.
It is moved, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Question? Comments? All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
The last couple of meetings, Your Worship, and we're on a continuous path of improving our leak detection system and doing more work and trying to extend both the human as well as some of the equipment, the resources we have to do it. We approved the expenditure of a locator a couple of weeks ago. Now, and we discussed this in Committee of the Whole, if you recall, we want to purchase a leak detector correlator. This basically would help us locate or correlate the location, as the name suggests, for a substantial leak, or any size leak for that matter. We had 4 bids. We're recommending that the lowest qualified bidder, which is Gooderman Leak Detection, be awarded the contract for $24,408, including HST, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. I look at Mr. Antle over there and I say, we could benchmark this sucker. All right? This one is going to be $24,408. But if you detect a leak, this is what it says here, of half an inch, right? That's a fairly big leak. That's a big leak.
Well, that wouldn't be huge. Half an inch is. We get leaks. So
if you've got a water line at a pressure of 60 psi, I'm assuming we do.
Yep.
Our lines are that. At 60 psi, and you have a half-inch hole in a water line, it will cost the city $40,000 in water fees. Find one of those leaks using that unit, and you would have not only paid for itself, it will have saved you an additional 16 grand at that point. Find another one, and you're really in money. This is a fabulous thing to have. Yeah. Jerry, you want to brag about it for a second, or what? He's waving at me there, John.
Yeah,
Speak to it, please.
That reflects if that leak is occurring for the entire year.
Yeah.
Okay, so bear that in mind. This leak correlator will allow us, when we're particularly excavating for we have a known leak, generally a leak of that size, you won't need a correlator. You'll know you'll have loss of water pressure somewhere on the street. This will assist us when we're excavating to pinpoint where we need to excavate, because sometimes we could be there, it could be a long process. If the leak is occurring, it could be meters away before we actually find where the location is to. This allows us to pinpoint, so when we excavate, we can excavate almost right on top of that leak.
That's going to be much more efficient and less damaging to landscaping and all kinds of stuff.
And the idea
really
of the idea of doing that, of course, Your Worship, you're correct in that, is a great investment. But the last thing that we want is to have a half-inch leak going on for a full year and waste $40,000 of precious water and expensive water at that. So the idea is to enhance our full leak detection program, and in order to be able to do that, we need to have the equipment, which leads us to the next piece as well. We are looking to award 10 correlator radio loggers. These are sensors that are actually put on our valves and our pipes, and they can actually help locate even minute leaks. Like you use the word pinholes, Your Worship. They can actually help detect fluctuations through sound, basically, very, very small leaks. And again, it's another tool in our arsenal, along with the locator, the correlators, and now the 10 loggers. And these 10 loggers, of course, can be relocated to different pipes and valves throughout the city. So it's part and parcel of what we were we're planning to do in purchasing the locator and the correlators. The cost of 10 of these is $20,022.24, including HST, and obviously we're recommending approval for this, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Questions? Comments? All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
As I normally do, Your Worship, I'll give you a very quick update on our snow clearing response. Our equipment is holding up reasonably well. We're having the normal breakdowns of hydraulic equipment and some belts that need to be replaced. We've had a little bit of a problem in terms of mechanics, not problems with the mechanics, but we were down to mechanics at a critical time this winter. Most people would actually look around and say, this is a reasonably good winter. But it's also a bit of an unusual winter. We've had a lot of rain and a lot of quick freezes and a lot of thaws. And as a result, similar to what the City of St. John's cited last week, this year so far, we've used 4,205 tons of salt, which is a total cost of $428,000, almost $429,000, whereas last year in total we used $288,000. So we're about $140,000 over and above what we spent for the entire year in 2014. So, and that's a result of the kind of weather. It's not just snow, because snow doesn't require a lot of salt usage, but a lot of ice and rain and quick freezes, that requires a lot of salt. And so our snow clearing budget, in fact, in total is over by about $170,000 at this point, I think. We were over last year by $30,000 or $40,000 at this time as well, but at the end of the year, because of the pretty good fall, we ended up coming in a little under budget. So all is not lost, except to say that, well, yes, this is a pretty good winter. It's a pretty mild winter, and we haven't had the huge accumulations of snow that we've had in the past. It's been a rough winter on our equipment, and it's been a very expensive winter on the cost of salt. So I just want to pass that on as well.
The pace of salt spread is high.
Very, very high. There's
right
no doubt about that. That's it for me, Your Worship. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the update, as always, on the winter snow clearing operation. That's good. Planning and Development Committee report. Take a deep breath. Councillor Ledwell, begin.
Thank you, Your Worship. And now for the second half of the meeting.
The second half of the meeting, yep.
First item on our agenda, Your Worship, is a municipal recommendation form for a Crown Land application up around Kenmount Road. This is an application from Prospect Development Limited. They're applying to acquire Crown Land, which is located immediately to the north of their existing land holdings up around the Moffat Road subdivision, and it's south of Kenmount Road. The parcel is about 103.5 meters wide, and it varies approximately from 43 to 60 meters deep. Based upon the drawings that have been submitted for the Moffat Road subdivision Phase 6, the land is going to be used for 8 building lots, a road access to Kenmount Road, and some open space. Crown Land is currently located in the residential single-use 3 and rural use zones. The planned residential and open spaces are permitted uses based on the current zonings. The east side of the proposed road is zoned rural, and it's within the area that we're looking at rezoning above the 190-meter contour. The proposed road, Kenmount Road, and the building lots on the west side of the road are in keeping with the comprehensive development scheme for the area. The east side of the proposed road, though, is currently beyond the development scheme. We've looked at it in committee, and we're certainly prepared to recommend that the municipal recommendation form be approved, subject to the following 3 conditions. And the first, upon acquisition of the land, that Prospect Development be acquired to submit a development application for the property. Secondly, a copy of the consolidated survey for the land be forwarded to the city. And thirdly, an application to amend the lands above the 190-meter contour currently zoned as rural be submitted to the city for review for approval prior to any development being considered for the area. And I so move.
It has been moved. It is seconded by the Deputy Mayor? Question? No. Seconded by Councillor Walsh. Question, comment? Councillor Aker.
Yeah, no, I think this is a very proactive move because we're trying basically here, I guess, with Prospect to open up back access to their subdivision, which is creeping up from Topsail Road. My question for the department is there more Crown Land, for example, to the east of this piece of Crown Land, and should the city in some way be more proactive maybe in trying to acquire that Crown Land if applicable? all in keeping with simultaneously moving along, because we're working to get the restricted zone in the 190, basically the zoning and that changed according to the comprehensive development plan. So is there any more Crown land up there that can be acquired, and does the city have a role in acquiring it?
That's a really good question. Council, I will call you Councillor. Director Yevchek, sorry.
Your most magnificent worship. I thank you.
This is getting ridiculous.
In terms of the Crown land, as far as we understand, this is probably the only large piece of Crown land that is available in that area. We do know there are strips of Crown land that are in the area, and we have actually applied for one. An example is the former Reed Railway lands, or the railway lands, which council has applied for to acquire for the purpose of building a trailway between Farrell Drive and the Leopard Canada development proposal. There may be a few more pieces of land like that around, but nothing that's of substantial size like this is in terms of development potential. As far as we understand, we have a good idea of what's available, and we knew this was available land as Crown land. But again, other pieces of Crown land this size we're not familiar with.
Okay. So can we apply for this big chunk of Crown land up there, Mr. Yevchek, or
What we if
beyond what prospect is
this is it. This is the only parcel that we're aware of.
okay, so they're applying for all of it.
Yeah, it's what you have there, which is basically land to complete the connection between the Prospect development and Kenmount Road. So it's and then really, when you look at the size, what it is a building lot depth two building lot depths and a road going through the middle is basically the size of Crown land that we're talking about.
So we're applying for a piece of Crown land, or we're supporting their application for a piece of Crown land that is in the restricted zone, right? Because if I look at the two maps that are there, I can see their development plan, and you're looking east of that as well, which is in the restricted zone. So, but once that's taken out, Prospect will own that land? Is that the thinking? Not us.
Yeah, Your Worship, that's correct. I guess first of all, municipal recommendation forms, we fill out a lot of these in the office for the small parcels of land that are actually within. Quite often, you have properties that are bisected by the railway right of way, and we actually have applications where someone wants to build a development. And quite often, in terms of process, we will fill them out internally because there's no municipal advantage to us asking for them. In this case, the developer is looking again to complete that connection between Kenmount Road and the Prospect development. And certainly under our current development scheme, the western side of the land being requested is an urban designation for residential and road purposes. The east side, and you're correct. Right now, it is in a rural restricted zoning. It's an area that is above the 190-meter contour, but the intention is that should council be successful in approving the Kenmount Hill Amendment and a subsequent more detailed plan for the area, that land will be available for urban development as well. And looking at the road layout from the department's perspective, it would make a lot of sense that, given that it's adjacent to Kenmount Road, it's also part or adjacent to the new proposed road connection to Kenmount Road, that would be an obvious type of development land for someone like Prospect to develop in conjunction with what they're doing right now. So at this point, we're not really talking about the development potential there. We're just giving a recommendation back to Crown Lands. They will determine at the end of the day if they're going to sell it or not. But chances are they will sell it on the basis of the city's recommendation. Now, if there's a desire by the city to actually acquire or ask for the same land for other purposes, that's certainly a right of council. But from the planning department's perspective, we just saw this as a natural completion of this subdivision, rather than for like public open space or public purpose uses elsewhere. Right?
I didn't know if there was any more. Maybe
No.
we should be jumping.
No, there's not.
Worship, I just want to say that thank you for clarification here, Mr. Yevchik, but it's just the way I looked at the map there. I thought that Prospect was only requesting the land that they needed for their development scheme here. So I thought they were just applying for the little wedges that were here, and I think that was to Councillor Aker. No, now I understand. Councillor Aker was I think thinking the same thing. So they were applying for all the Crown land in this area, and the other piece on the map is not in the current development, but they could come back and propose further development on that land once they get it. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Will we call the question? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is granted.
Thank you, Your Worship. Second item is a business that is operating without a permit. It's a dog grooming business, a home-based one at that. You'll recall perhaps that an application did come to council this past fall on November 24th for an application at 4 Diamond Place for a home-based business for dog grooming. At the time, we did refuse the application based on the fact that a dog grooming business is not listed as a permitted or discretionary use in the residential medium density zone. You'll probably recall that we had some concerns around traffic and parking in the neighborhood, and basically we refused it on those grounds. However, the city has still, even after the refusal, received some complaints from neighbors that the operation still continues to operate. And a quick check of some online resources, I'll say, has shown that the business is indeed still operating. So at this point, the Planning and Development staff and committee recommend that staff proceed with appropriate legal action against the property owner at 4 Diamond Place to cease and desist the business operating out of the home, and I so move.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Walsh. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Moving right along, Your Worship, we have a couple of amendments to speak of. This is a Municipal Plan Amendment number 14 for 2015 and Development Regulations Amendment number 43 for 2015. From here on in, we'll call them the Kenmount Hill Amendment. If approved, this amendment will signal Council's interest in allowing land above the 190-metre contour to be developed for a range of urban uses, provided adequate water and sewer services are available. The area in question lies above the 190-metre contour, south of the border between Mount Pearl and St. John's, and it is comprised of 2 sections. The western section lies above Masonic Park and the developed area on Kenmount Hill. The eastern section lies east of the developed area of Kenmount Hill and north of Blackmarsh Road. Currently, the area in question is designated as rural and restricted development in the St. John's Urban Regional Plan, dated 1976. However, the Department of Municipal and Intergovernmental Affairs is considering amendments to the regional plan to bring it up to date. Consideration is now being given to redesignating the land within Mount Pearl above the 190-metre contour to an urban designation. It is proposed that the subject land be redesignated and rezoned from rural to comprehensive development area. The matter was referred to the Department of Environment and Conservation for review. The Department is not against the amendment, but does not recommend, of course, that the development be carried out on wetlands. So they're against the development of wetlands, but not against the development as a whole. In addition, the Department has stated that any work conducted in or on a body of water is always, of course, subject to proper permitting, but of course that's the usual process for the Department of Environment and Conservation. A letter was sent to all of the towns in the region. We did receive responses from 7 towns. Most have no issue with the amendments, except to say that regional water has to be able to accommodate any development in the area, that being regional water systems. The town of CBS has indicated that it would like to see the amendment reviewed by the Regional Water Board. A public briefing session was held on November 25th of 2014. A notice was mailed to 657 property owners in the area, and roughly 14 people attended the session. The concerns that were raised include water and sewer capacity, servicing issues, traffic impacts, and the conservation of open space and wetlands. The amendment was given provincial release by the Department of Environment and Conservation on February 17th of 2015. The City may now adopt the amendment and schedule a public hearing. A study of servicing capacity for the area is underway, and preliminary findings by Bay New Plan, of course our engineering consultants on the matter, indicate that, subject to the upgrading of systems in the area can be serviced by water and sewer systems that exist. Other issues with the proposed amendments will be addressed in a comprehensive development scheme for the area. So, with that all said, at this point we are prepared to recommend that the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan 2010 Amendment number 14 and the Mount Pearl Development Regulations Amendment number 43 be adopted, and that City staff proceed with the appointment of Commissioner and the establishment of a date, time, and place for a public hearing. Just this afternoon, we want to have a couple of additions to the motion: that George Traynor be appointed Commissioner for the public hearing into the Ken Mount Hill Amendment, and that the public hearing be held on Tuesday, April 7th at 7 p.m. at Mount Pearl City Hall, and I so move.
It is moved and it is seconded. Can we do all of this as one motion, or do we need to break this up, guys? We can do it as one motion, okay? Absolutely. Councillor Walsh.
Just Your Worship, obviously this is necessary because of our intention to try to develop lands, on or above the 190 contour. This is my 14th year serving on council, Your Worship, and for 14 years, development above the 190 contour was not allowed. And there was nothing magical about the 190 contour except that, gravity feed just didn't work well in terms of development above 190 contour. When the City of St. John's received an application for the development of a very large piece of property referred to as Galway, that sort of changed the water on the beans in terms of access to infrastructure, water, sewer capacity, all those kinds of things. So while we routinely refer development to our regional services, as we should, for fire and for water and for capacity, I really believe and I hope sincerely that this proposal and this amendment will be approved, and that further development above the 190 contour within the boundaries of the City of Mount Pearl will also be approved, just like the Galway project in the City of St. John's, which is an excellent project, by the way, which I fully support. They have a significant industrial park development which has already begun, and they have several phases of residential development. Just last week they were talking about a concert site that could accommodate 40 to 60,000 people. So what I'm saying is, if there's enough capacity to build something like that, which initially was supposed to be the size of the town of Gander, they said, surely we can have enough capacity to develop the meager pieces of land that we have above the 190 contour here in Mount Pearl. And I just want to be on record as saying that, yes, I support the amendment, but even more so, I support the development of the lands above the 190 contour within our boundaries and within the boundaries of the town of Paradise or CBS or anywhere else that has lands above the 190 contour. If we've lifted that ban, let's be fair to everybody. It should not be a race out of the gate. I think what it should be is an opportunity for us all to develop fairly and equally. And I think part of the review of the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan hopefully will address just that. So I just wanted Your Worship to be on record as saying that I don't want this to be a race to the gate. I want this to be a fair and equitable distribution of the capacity that we have within our system. And I have no doubt that this will expedite the need for more and greater capacity in the near future. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll call the matter. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Next item is we have a proposed outdoor display court. This is at S&S Supply up at 1281 to 1283 Topsail Road. We have an application from BRS Holdings.
We know this guy.
Yeah.
He's our friend.
He's a good buddy of ours.
Yeah, he likes you.
He likes me.
He thinks you're dysfunctional.
I think he likes you too, actually.
He thinks we're
all
all
I saw it on the sign up there.
There you go. Okay.
It's an application from BRS.
We will not.
No, we certainly won't. From BRS Holdings, proposing to develop an outdoor display court in the front of the property. It will be used to display construction and industrial equipment such as excavators, skid steers, and lifts. The court is to be located between the existing front parking and the property boundary. City staff undertook a review, you'll recall, in 2013 to identify properties within the city that may have been in contravention of the city's development regulations in terms of items being stored in the and displayed in the front courts of various properties. In May of 2014, the city received a complaint about vehicles parked in the landscaped front yard at this property. The city contacted the property owner, and now an application has been received for this outdoor display court that we're bringing forward this evening. The proposed display court is in accordance with the city's regulations, and it is a permitted use within the industrial light use zone. The proposal addresses all of the conditions laid out in the city's development regulations, including those related to traffic safety, sight lines, parking, and snow clearing. The Planning and Development Committee also recommends that 3 further conditions be placed on the permit. Number 1, that the crane arms or other types of extensions may not extend beyond the boundary of the display area. Number 2, that the equipment be placed within the display court in a manner that no part of the equipment, I should say, obstructs or blocks the view of signage from the street or from neighboring properties. And that the city not be liable if equipment is damaged during routine maintenance and operations. With all of that said, and with all those conditions in place, the Planning and Development Committee recommends that the application for the proposed outdoor display court be granted and approved based on the conditions in your kit, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded. Question or comment? Oh, come on. Nobody is going to have a shot at this? No one's going to bite, eh?
Looks like a good plan.
All those in favor? He's not going to like us anymore, is he?
No,
He just won't like us any less.
Probably not.
Contrary minded. Motion is carried.
Your Worship, perhaps this is a sign of things to come.
Oh, dear God. The Pun King has arrived.
Here we are. Your Worship, moving right along, the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce held their annual general meeting on March 4th of 2015.
Yep.
Myself, and I know Councillor Walsh and the Deputy Mayor, I don't know if you were there, were you? No? Councillor Aker was there, and Councillor Stoyles. We attended, and certainly it was a well-run AGM. The guest speaker was Mr. Robert Cadigan. He's the President and CEO of the Newfoundland and Labrador Oil and Gas Industries Association, otherwise known as NOIA. He gave an insightful presentation on the future of the oil and gas industry in our province.
Did we leave it with great hope?
We did.
Good.
We left with great hope and marched forward to conquer challenges before us.
You did a great job.
He did, yes. We'd like to congratulate the outgoing president of the Chamber, of course, Ms. Tammy Clark. Her and her team did a great job. So we want to certainly congratulate her on all that she's done for commerce in both Mount Pearl and Paradise. We also look forward to a successful working relationship with Ms. Dulcie Sharp-Turpin and the rest of the new and returning board members. You'll remember that Ms. Sharp-Turpin has been elected as president for the coming year of the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. So we look forward to working with her. You'll see the executive listed there. I'll just run quickly down through them. Of course, the president is Dulcie. Treasurer Nigel Coase. He's also chair of Advocacy and Policy. Carol Fowler, the chair of Marketing and Branding. The directors are Susan Fisher, Carolyn Waken, Keith White, Paul Byrne, Colinda Goss, and of course we have our 2 ex officio members, our own Economic Development Officer Steve Butler from right here in Mount Pearl, and Rod Cumby, the CAO for Paradise. So I want to congratulate all, and thanks for a great AGM.
They got a lot of new bodies there, new directors, and that's really good. Really good. Excellent.
Moving right along, Your Worship, we have a notice of motion which I'll read into the record. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988, take notice that in accordance with Council's public notification policy, I will at a regular meeting of Council move an amendment to the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010 that, if enacted, will, number 1, amend Map 1 Land Use Zoning Map as follows: rezone the northern portions of 22 and 24 Glendale Avenue from rural to residential high density. Rezone the southern portions of 22 and 24 Glendale Avenue and the portion of Glendale Avenue adjacent to said properties out to the center line of the road from residential medium density to residential high density. And rezone 16 to 20 Glendale Avenue and the portion of Glendale Avenue adjacent to said property out to the center line of the road from commercial general to residential high density. The purpose of this amendment is to provide Council with the authority to consider an application for the proposed development of a condominium complex at 16 to 24 Glendale Avenue. Next item.
Thank you.
we have the development permit list for the period of February 23rd to March 7th of 2015. You'll see there we have 2 permits, and I would like to move those.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Next, Your Worship, we have our building permit construction totals, both on the residential and on the commercial side. First, for residential, you'll see there that for the period of February 23rd to March 6th for 2015, our total building permits for the residential piece was $29,000, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary minded, carried.
And finally, Your Worship, the building permit totals on the commercial side for the same period, you see there that we had a very busy period from February 23rd to March 6th. Our total for the period is $6,084,000, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
And that is it for planning.
You may as well stay on your feet. Transportation and Public Safety, and you're going to step in for Councillor Tessier?
I am indeed, Your Worship, and this is a bit of a shorter report. Just want to make the public aware that, of course, with the spring and the summer coming along, it's soon time for the Park Patrol to hit the streets once again in the city of Mount Pearl. For the information of the public, the summer employment application for the Park Patrol is available on the city's website and for pickup here at City Hall and up at the Summit Centre. The closing date is April 10th for those applications. So certainly want to encourage any and all young people who are looking for a great summer job to consider applying for the Park Patrol. It's a great experience and good work for the summer.
Thank you, sir, very, very much. I believe that concludes all city reports. We are up to new business. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have one item. I referenced it earlier, the swim meet that took place this past weekend, actually from Thursday till Sunday at the Summit Aquatics Centre. The East Coast Short Course Meet. I was asked to bring greetings, Your Worship, as you were out of town, and it was my pleasure to do so. And I was really surprised at the number of people up here. I didn't realize, as a non-swimmer or children who didn't participate in the swimming program. So I learned quite a lot this past weekend. But we did have 22 teams, Your Worship, from all the Atlantic provinces, Atlantic Canada, as well as Ontario. And I just want to highlight some of the swimmers are just incredible. And the Marlins, again, put on a great showing. They had the 3rd highest medal count of the 22 teams. They came away with 18 gold, 17 silver, and 18 bronze. Just to acknowledge some of their participants, the 11 and 12-year-old girls relay, they won 3 gold. They broke 3 club records, and that makes them the fastest relay team in the 11 to 12 age category in the 40-year history of the Mount Pearl Marlins. Some of these children are they're just like fish when they get in the water. They are quite impressive to watch, you know. No, but they are fast swimmers, you know. And it was good to see. So kudos to the 11 to 12-year-old girls relay. Mr. Sam Leewood, he had 5 individual gold medals and 1 individual silver. And again, you're talking from Ontario and Atlantic Canada. We had additional club records broken by 12-year-old Aaron Cody and 12-year-old Rachel Legg. And also Raquel Morgan is a 15-year-old swimmer with the Marlins. She had 4 silver medals and 1 bronze medal. So our Marlins did us very proud again this weekend. We had 238 athletes there, plus the coaches, plus the family members. It was a beehive of activity. And again, I want to send out kudos to the staff at the Summit Centre, the Aquatic Centre. They did a great job tending to it. I got a chance to speak with people from, Corner Brook, St. John's, other parts of Atlantic Canada, and there was nothing but praise. They could not believe the quality of our facility, and many of them asked how they could get a facility like this. One St. John's resident said, the only problem with this facility is that it's in Mount Pearl. And I said, well, I can put you on to some realtors if you wish to join Mount Pearl. We welcome everyone here in the city of Mount Pearl. So I just wanted to take the time, Your Worship, to tip our hat to the Marlins, all the 60 volunteers that, the coaches and the judges and the officials. Again, I learned a lot of technical stuff there, just how technical the swim is, like when they approach the wall and their hands have to touch at a certain time, and when they do the flip, they can only do so many, kicks and stuff like that. It was very technical, but it was a pleasure to watch. And some of these kids are in the pool like 25 hours a week. These kids are swimming almost every day, I think. Someone told me, except Sundays. And then they're doing weight training. So they're in the pool before school. Some days are in the pool after school. and they're also doing the weight training. So it's a huge commitment. But I was very proud with all the compliments that we received on our Summit Centre, and I was quite proud of our Mount Pearl Merlins once again. So that's it for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's great to see that the Summit Centre aquatics facility is being used to the extent that it is. When you have probably 350, 400 people coming through there throughout the weekend, that's exceptionally good. I'm really surprised that you didn't have the pollywog tadpole experience that, as a parent. You'd know it if you went through it. Did you? They weren't competitive. Okay, good. That's good, because I was starting to get worried. Tadpole and pollywog are the categories of the swimmers when they're going through the very young programs, very early. And I'll tell you, when your kids are going through,
that's where I encountered failure.
Yeah, it might have been. But it was a lot of fun, and there are a lot of. But of course, the kids, the grading system at the end of it was just so much pressure. It was incredible. Like, am I going to get moved to the next level?
Yeah, that's critically important to them.
It was incredible. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to speak about. I did speak with Val Tiller. In fact, the day of the chamber luncheon, I had the occasion to have been served by the Fireside staff twice that day, actually. But she did mention that on the Monday previous, they opened the Fireside location at the Summit Centre. She was really, really proud of it. And while the mayor is absolutely correct in saying that this weekend it was a beehive of activity, and indeed it was. Like all of these locations, there are peaks and valleys. Like when you have a competition on, such as the weekend, these people are going to be extremely busy. But I'd like to get the word out there that this facility is used all the time. Go upstairs, just grab a cup of coffee or some juice, a wrap, a healthy snack, a salad. Fireside does a tremendous job on the meals, and we want them to be successful there. So it's not just for big competitions such as the weekend when there are hundreds of people there. They're going to do well. But I think the regular daytime programming, in the evening, you get a lot of people over there in the weight rooms and on the exercise equipment and in the pool. We want to make sure that these people also go upstairs and avail of the facilities that Fireside provides. So we wish them well, Jeff and Val Tiller and the people at Fireside. The only thing I want to mention, and I don't want to rehash your meeting, Deputy Mayor, or your committee report, but I do want to highlight again the Citizen of the Year. If the competition or the nomination process closes on Friday, it seems that with the minor sports and the schools, the focus on youth gets lots of attention, and it's just a matter of time of getting these in. But for the Citizen of the Year, we require the various service groups and church groups to put forth nominations. There are so many worthy nominees out there, and it's just a matter of someone taking the time, and whether it's with the school councils or whether it's with the service clubs that we have so many of, whether it's with our Frosty Festival committees or City Days committees or church groups of which so many people are involved. It's really, and it's not about the winning. It's about the nomination, just the acknowledgement of being there and being among your peers, and being thanked publicly for the tremendous contributions that these people make. So I encourage people. The deadline is Friday. Unlike the Focus on Youth Awards, it seems like there's an annual extension every year of a couple of weeks with that. But this is always a fairly firm deadline, and it closes on Friday. So if you're inclined at all, think of somebody that you work with in a volunteer capacity, put forth their name, take the 20 minutes or a half hour or an hour if it takes to fulfill a nomination form, and let's pay tribute to the many volunteers that we have in our community who do such great work. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you, sir, very much. Well said. Councillor Aker?
Yeah, just one item I wanted to make note of. I know many of us attended the AGM of the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce, and I want to congratulate Dulcie Turpin-Sharp on her election as president, and also to commend Tammy Clark, who works with Munn Insurance. Whenever you went to a community event in the last year or so, you'd always see Tammy and Dulcie there. And I think that's one of their strengths, is they wanted to make sure that as they were on the executive of the chamber, that they brought the chamber to the community and vice versa. And they've done a great job. And I think that's why you see such a strong slate of people now who have joined that board from all, businesses in both communities. But, it's really going to add to the future of the organization if they continue to operate the way they do. So I want to congratulate both ladies. And that's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Two very, very quick items. I just want to add my voice to those of the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Walsh, and I'm sure all of Council, when we appeal to our city and our public to make some nominations for the Citizen of the Year award. So many times the people who do so much are true volunteers, and that they don't want the recognition. They don't do it to be recognized as Citizen of the Year, and that's the furthest thing from their minds. But those are the people that really do deserve to be nominated and honoured in this way. So I really want to encourage all of our groups out there and all of our citizens to consider nominating somebody. Speaking of volunteers, I know that all of Council, we had the privilege just last week of attending the Volunteer Appreciation Social that was held for our Frosty Festival Board of Directors and volunteers. And that was an operation, of course, that encompassed over 500 volunteers. And, certainly we're very proud of all the great work that they did. And while we look back on the 2015 Frosty Festival, we're, of course, looking ahead to the Frosty Festival of 2016. And the board is starting to come together now for next year's festival. They have a call for applicants, I guess you'd have to call it, out now. They're looking for a vice chairperson or a treasurer and volunteers to fill all of their 4 director roles, those being program services and ways and means and so on and so forth. The deadline for applications for the Frosty Festival Board for 2016 is April 6th. And for more information, folks can email frostyfestivallive.com. From personal experience, I can tell you it is a very rewarding undertaking to organize that Frosty Festival and see 10 days of events go off almost as you planned it. So I'd like to encourage all of our citizens to keep that in mind and perhaps volunteer for the Frosty Board.
It's almost always like you planned it, but not like you planned it, right? That's how it works. Thank you, Councillor Ledwell. That concludes everything. As everybody knows, I can't really add very much. Just to let Council know that we have drafted a letter of support for our colleagues in the City of St. John's who are actively seeking the 2017 Briar and want to host it in St. John's. And I think we are enthusiastic in our hopes that they would be successful in that bid. And my heart broke on the weekend. I don't know about yours, but I thought Brad Gushue was bringing home the Briar. I don't know if it's a tankard anymore now that it's Tim Hortons. It's not a tankard anymore. Is it still a Briar tankard? I thought he was going to do it. This was the year. It really was. Yeah, but just to let Council know that letter is written supporting that, and that's going on. The weekend in Burnaby at the FCM, 3 or 4 major items that cropped up, not the least of which is the upcoming federal election, the need for municipal government to maintain that it be in front of all of these politicians from all of the particular parties. We have asked through our Atlantic Caucus that the ministers responsible for infrastructure in the 4 Atlantic provinces hold a joint meeting with us. And we're hoping to, we've written a letter to that effect, hoping to hear back, and I understand that Newfoundland has volunteered to host it and have them in to do that. So hopefully that will happen. Big ticket items on the weekend, won't surprise anybody. Wastewater regulations, the upcoming election, climate change, and I don't know how many times we're going to say affordable housing. But these are continuing to be huge, huge issues with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So that's everything from me. Thank you, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Ledwell. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.